You know, there are some pieces of writing that just hit you differently depending on when you read them. W.H. Auden's poem The Unknown Citizen is one of those. I mean, it was written way back, over 80 years ago, but seriously, it feels like it could have been written this morning. It's this chilling, kind of funny, but also deeply unsettling look at a society that's obsessed with measuring everything, but maybe values nothing. So let's dive into this absolute masterclass in satire.
Okay, so the poem kicks off, but not with poetry. It starts with this. It's basically the inscription you'd find on a monument. And just look at it. It's so cold, so impersonal, right? There's no name. It's just a string of letters and numbers. JS/07M378. Right away, you get this feeling that we're not in the world of human emotion. Nope, we've just stepped into the world of bureaucracy.
So, that little inscription has a name. It's called an epigraph. You've seen them a million times, right? On war memorials, public statues, that kind of thing. Auden is being really clever here. By using this, he's immediately setting the stage. We know we're reading an official tribute, something from the state to one of its citizens. But trust me, this is not your ordinary tribute, not by a long shot.
All right, so the state built a whole monument to this guy. The big question is, why? Well, according to all their records, he was the perfect citizen. So the first part of this poem reads like a eulogy, but it's more like a checklist, really. A list of everything he did right in the eyes of the government.
First up on the perfect life checklist, he was a great employee, never caused any trouble, did what he was told. He worked for a place called Fudge Motors, Inc., and basically just fit right into the big economic machine without a single complaint. From the state's perspective, that's a big old checkmark.
And socially? Yep, he was a model citizen there too. The official report says he was popular with his buddies, liked to drink. He was just agreeable, totally acceptable, never, ever rocked the boat. So, another check.
And get this, he even consumed the right kind of media. The poem says he read a paper every single day, and his reactions to the news were normal in every way. Basically, his opinions were exactly what they were supposed to be. He never strayed into any weird or unapproved territory. Check.
And, of course, the big one, he was a model consumer. Fully insured, had a car, a phonograph, a radio, a fridge, all the cool new gadgets a modern man was supposed to have. He was doing his part, buying all the things. A final massive check. So if you're the state, you look at this guy's file and think, wow, an unqualified success. But is that really the whole story?
Well, that perfect portrait, that's exactly what Auden is about to tear all down. He's getting ready to pull the rug right out from under us. He's going to show that this whole official story is what he called in another poem, a folded lie.
So to really get what Auden's up to, you have to know this poem is a satiric elegy. Now, an elegy is a poem that mourns a death, right? But a satiric one that uses irony and humor to mourn something else. See, Auden isn't actually mourning this guy. He's mourning the death of individuality itself in a world that's become obsessed with data points and just fitting in.
And just look at how they saw him. This is fascinating. His life wasn't seen as, well, a life. It was just a bunch of data points collected by all these different agencies. You've got the Bureau of Statistics, Social Psychology, Producers Research. They all filed their separate reports. He wasn't a person. He was just a collection of good stats.
Now, this line is actually from a different Auden poem, but man, does it capture his mission perfectly here. He's using his voice, his poetry, to basically undo the folded lie. The lie that a human being can be measured and understood by these cold, external bureaucratic standards. The whole point is that this perfect life on paper, it's a total illusion.
So you have to wonder, what got Auden so fired up about this particular theme? Well, the answer is in a massive life change he had just gone through. This poem is a direct reaction to the new world he suddenly found himself living in.
Check out these dates for a second. In 1939, Auden packs his bags and moves from England to America. Just 1 year later, in 1940, he publishes The Unknown Citizen. That's not a coincidence. That's pure cause and effect.
What he ran into in America was a massive culture shock. I mean, it hit him hard. He was just blown away by the hyper-capitalist society, the intense consumerism, this constant pressure to conform. He saw a society that seemed to celebrate everyone being the same, instead of celebrating what makes people unique. So this poem is basically his dispatch from the front lines of what he saw as modern life.
But here's where Auden goes deeper. For him, this wasn't just about taking a shot at American capitalism.
That culture shock was just a symptom of a much bigger, more universal problem. He was really influenced by philosophy and theology, and he started to see that the real root of the problem wasn't just out there in society. It was inside us, in the human condition itself.
So on one side, you've got the state's view, the measured man. He's defined by what he owns, by his job, by how popular he is. But on the other side, you've got Auden's view, which was really shaped by thinkers like St. Augustine. He saw us as the divided self. The idea here is that on the inside, we're not this one, simple thing. We're actually a messy collection of conflicting desires, different selves all battling it out.
And this idea of the divided self is absolutely key to understanding Auden. He kind of believed that the moment we become self-conscious, the moment we can think about ourselves, we're fallen from this simple, unified state. We become creatures of inner conflict. And that messy, complicated, internal reality is something the state's neat and tidy reports could never, ever hope to capture.
Yeah, this quote from an analysis of Auden's work just nails it. The problem isn't simply that the government is keeping tabs on us. For Auden, the real problem is that to be a self-conscious human is to be divided, to be in conflict with yourself. And the state's biggest crime, its greatest sin, is to just pretend that whole messy internal world doesn't even exist. And all of this builds to the poem's absolutely devastating final lines. This is where Auden finally drops the questions that the state, the bureaucracy, would never even think to ask.
And there it is, the two questions that actually matter about a person's life, was he free, was he happy, are just brushed off. They're called absurd. And why are they absurd? Because hey, if anything had been wrong, it would have been in a report somewhere. It would have shown up in the data. That chilling, absolute confidence in the last line we should certainly have heard, that's the genius of the poem. It shows a system so complete, it literally cannot imagine a kind of pain or unhappiness that it can't measure.
Which brings us right back to today. I mean, think about it. Auden wrote this in 1940. We live in a world of social media profiles, targeted ads, algorithms building these incredibly detailed data portraits of every single one of us. The agencies in his poem seem almost cute by comparison, don't they? So the question for us right now isn't just, would they have heard? It's, in our age, where our lives are constantly tracked and turned into data, how would they even begin to hear?